Hello, everybody. Nobody here yet. Uh-oh. Let me fix my phone's settings. Oh, well, doesn't matter. Hello, hello, hello. Trying to get to my page. Oh, my goodness. There we go. The way I can see the chat. Turn off the sound. There we go. Hope everybody's doing well. I thought there was a lot of discussion, especially with the upcoming election in 2020, about the dangers of deepfake, and I really didn't know a whole lot about that topic. So I went to educate myself. And Wikipedia says deepfake is a technique for human image synthesis based on artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence is the big thing now. It is used to combine and superimpose existing images and videos onto source images or videos using a machine learning technique known as generative adversarial network. I don't know why they call it that. But basically, it's where they can show people doing things they actually don't do, like putting faces, political or other kind of people on porn star bodies and have their faces look very real, because people are just gullible and they believe everything they see and everything they read, and so lots of platforms are working, supposedly they are, on finding a way to detect these deep fake videos and whatnot in a sufficiently accurate way so that it can be done very quickly. But so far, from what I understand, from what I read, is that they're having difficulty doing it with other AI, basically. That the human factor is important in how to detect these, because they just use some kind of program to detect it. I guess the AIs don't police each other very well, and so a lot of it slips by the programs. So they need to start using human people looking at these, not it's like having the fox over the hen house, if watching over the hen house, having another computer trying to catch this stuff, because apparently AI hasn't become human yet and probably never will. Hi, Mandy. How are you doing? I know you've had some rough few weeks there. Anyway, but I mean, we need to be concerned, because especially on the public platforms, that this deep fake stuff can be very deceiving. I'm pretty good. I've been, with my medication change, I'm doing better. So I even made dinner last night. But So here we have an issue with, you know, well, I think Greg might be able to, he's having trouble with his computer. He just has a moment that he can pop in and it's like his computer's giving him trouble. It's like, the guy can't catch a break. Um, yeah, he's been very busy. He wants to know everything. He wants to know everything the world has to offer right now. I understand. I have a hunger to learn too, but I've had to temper it with the fact that I'm not as much energy as I used to have. And the perfectly honest thing is that I get bored with, being in any kind of regimented uh, way of learning. I don't really like, I mean, it's okay, but, I prefer to do the things I want to do when I do them and go into the areas I want to learn. And I guess I've gotten cranky in my old age. But anyway, so, this coming election year, we've got to be discerning when it comes to these political ads and so-called things that are happening, because apparently nobody cares about honesty anymore. And if they see something that, oh, this is a video of so-and-so doing this, and they won't verify, they'll just use it. And we're going to see a lot of that on Google and other places, and some of the less careful news sites, I guess is the right word. And I'm not talking that it's necessarily a liberal or a conservative thing. I think it's everywhere. I don't think there's any group that's free of this kind of corruption for their own agendas, whatever they may be. So whatever your leanings are, try to be discerning about the deep fake stuff. And I'm going to repeat what the definition is, just because some people just came in late. Deep fake is a technique for human image synthesis based on artificial intelligence. It is used to combine and superimpose existing images and videos onto source images or videos using a machine learning technique known as, and I think this is an interesting name, generative adversarial network. That doesn't sound good, does it? And so, we have this going on. Now, I decided I would try to educate myself a little bit, like I think everyone should. We have the internet. There's no reason not to. And if you have trouble, my alarm. If you have trouble reading, then maybe you can get something that reads text for you. I don't like to watch talking heads news-wise, because you can almost look at all of them and they'll like be saying the same thing from the same script. They've even proven this. Everyone's reading the exact same words. They're just talking heads for the proletariat, or if you will, or for those that have the big agenda. Excuse me. So I don't watch the news networks. I read my news. I try to get varying sources. And my sons help me too, because they read other stuff, and we share things we've read on our Hangouts. My family has the Hangouts, because I have one in Canada, one in Southern California, and that I have my other three here in town. But I mean, it's nice for us to be able to connect. We also talk on TeamSpeak sometimes. My sons play video games with each other. So I mean, we have communication going, and they want true news as well. So we're all kind of looking for the real information that may or may not be out there. So I went to look at what I consider one of the better websites, which is Ars Technica. I mean, there's no perfect website, but it talks about Facebook, Reddit, and others need a deep fakes plan now, senators say. Utterly fabricated video could become a whole new area of misinformation soon. It's already been doing some things. And you'll see people that just, watch something and they think it's true. Because, I mean, people my generation and older, there wasn't a lot of this kind of deception in the news. I mean, there was some, but not to the degree that we have now. And so, I think that they can be a little too trusting. That's why seniors are targeted for a lot of scams, because they just didn't have to deal with that when they were younger. It didn't really happen hardly ever. So, we have to watch out for the possibility that, this stuff isn't true. We have to say, is it really true? We have to question everything. And I'm sorry that we have to do this. Um, but even Senators Mark Warner, a Democrat from Virginia, and Mark Rubio, Republican from Florida, wrote in a series of letters about this problem. They said over 2/3 of Americans now get their news from social media sites. Increased reliance on social media require your company to assume heightened set of obligations to safeguard the public and the public interest and the trust. So, the image manipulation isn't new, but now that we used to have a lot of Photoshop stuff that's quite convincing. But if you learn about how you can detect photoshopping in a photo, there's usually certain little indicators. And if you can learn, when something's got, okay, you take care, someone's got a kind of information that seems like a little suspect, you should be very, very, very suspicious. Don't be trusting of the media, because I don't think they're on, sometimes I don't think they're on the majority people's side. Personally, I don't like to sound paranoid, but I really think that those of us who are like in the same boat, generally speaking, aren't being communicated with honestly. They either don't trust us with the information, or they can't manipulate us properly if we know the truth. So, we have this issue with all the problems with social media. I mean, I was just, people are entitled to their opinion, of course, but I keep seeing things being posted on Facebook that have been around for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and they're putting them out like they just happened. And if you look at the dates, it's 2016, 2012, things like this. And this is an important thing that, you're getting all upset and head up about something that happened in 2016 that's no longer really an issue that's going on now, and you get all mad about it. That seems to be a kind of a waste of energy, and no reason to get all bent out of shape. So whenever I see something on any social media that I question, I'll Google it and I'll look at several sources, look at the sources that are there, and which sources are promoting this post. And that can be very telling if you dig deep enough. So, and it says they say deep fake videos can be identified if you know how and where to look. Well, most of us can tell a badly photoshopped image. The general public isn't very good at figuring out the fake videos. And they were saying how clear the hoaxes will still travel far and wide. So the two senators, they're saying, hey, you guys, we've got to address this, and they're right. And this is a bipartisan thing. This is concern, across the board. And on another channel, Technology Review, which looked like it was reasonably okay. Picture this, a perfectly accurate deepfake detector finally exists. That would be nice. But apparently, so far, the human factor has more effect at detecting these things than a computer program. They don't police each other very well, these AIs, I guess. Um, Perfectly real manipulated videos could be here in as little as 6 months. 6 months. Can't talk. 6 months. Where fake videos could be anything from Donald Trump admitting to corrupt deals with Russia, Elizabeth Warren advocating total ban on guns, Kamala Harris disparaging white people. We've got to be careful. We've got to be thinking just because it agrees with our worldview doesn't mean it's true. As much, as you might wish it's true, you just can't go down that road automatically. And it says on this technology thing, a problem, deepfake detectors can't tell us what should and shouldn't be taken down. They were talking about the slow down video of Nancy Pelosi. It wasn't a deep fake, but it still spread untruth. So the program didn't catch that. Defining satire, fake news, defining fiction, these are all huge philosophical questions, they say. And really, someone who's got a brain like a human being that can make value judgments in a real world setting with the understanding of culture and politics is going to do a better job than some program. Basically, this scholar from UCLA, that's University of California, Los Angeles, specialized teams of vetted moderators could judge the content of the text of the video, fact check it, and decide whether it should remain on the platform. They would have a much better idea. They would have a sense of the social and political impact of a variety of deepfakes and their targets. They could tell that a parody deepfake of Nicolas Cage are fine and fake porn is not. Putting someone's face on a porn star, not good. So, I mean, I don't think anyone cares, if anybody makes fun of Nicolas Cage, whether he has an H in his name or not. He's fair game as far as I'm concerned. But, I mean, it's not going to change how I vote or anything profound in that way. And number two problem is the technology, deepfake busting technology may not help the people who need the most protection, which are the more vulnerable people, the less educated people, the older generation. Okay, and it's talking about, people of color, women, marginalized groups, activists. I mean, we see this all the time where how even without the deep fake, just how a news outlet will take a picture and cut it in a certain way to show something inappropriately to support their ideas, even though it's not really what happened. They can manipulate a photo to make it look that's what they're saying. So if we'd paid attention to the problem of sexual exploitation of women without their consent, we would have been in a much better position to deal with it socially, legally, and culturally now. They're just basically saying that deep fakes is not that they swing an election, but that they're used to bully private citizens. So basically, a lot of the deep fake detection is too late to help people. So, I mean, this is a big, huge issue, and I don't know how far along we are. Hi, Paul. Just talking about deep fakes and how they can be used to spread misinformation about all kinds of hot topics. I was watching the other day, a few months ago, I guess, my husband was watching news, and he has TV. I don't have TV. And it was Trump behind a desk with supposedly the curtains and the flag behind him. And now, you all know I'm a sensitive basically. And whenever I see Trump, he's so misogynist and negative. I really can't watch the guy. Um, he's not the only one that I have trouble watching. There's quite a few politicians that really bother me to watch him. I don't like watching him because he doesn't have the nicest energy, I'll be honest with you. And I'm watching this, and it's like I'm not feeling anything. Normally, I can't watch the guy. And I'm not feeling anything when I'm watching him. And I'm like going, and I start looking at the video. It's it's up on the big screen. And I'm noticing some differences in the edges of his head, of his body, and how his face is moving, the background. And I basically said, that's not him. And the fact that he spoke without any of his usual mannerisms or pausing in his speech. He was reading a script and he was reading it perfectly, and it was very odd. Hi, Sandy. It's very odd. And I mean, I just said, that's not him. Maybe it's a message from the White House using a deep fake method to have him deliver it. Hi, Zach. But I mean, it wasn't him. And so, here we have technology that can show the president speaking, and it's a deep fake version of him. Sure, it's an official message from the White House. It could very well be his voice, but it wasn't him. I could tell it wasn't him. I could tell from the video it wasn't him because it was very enlarged. And I said, that is very strange looking. Even his face did not move in the way that it usually does. So, in this coming election, whichever way you go politically, it doesn't matter. We're going to see a lot of disinformation spread through deep fake and other means. So try to be discerning, educate yourself, see what the source of things are from, so you aren't fooled. So you try to find legitimate sites. I personally don't watch any live media news because I don't think any of them tell the truth. I try to read the news. I try to go to different sources to read it. I even read, either side to see where they're coming from. Hi, Ghosty. Let me define the deep fake for you again, for those who just came in here, in case you wondered what it is. Deep fake is a technique for human image synthesis based on artificial intelligence. It is used to combine and superimpose existing images and photos onto source images or videos using a machine learning technique known as, and I like this name, generative adversarial network. Where did they come up with that? You guys remember seeing Star Wars with Princess Leia as a young girl, when they used this technique to put her young face on another actress's body so she could be her younger self? Now, it wasn't perfect. It was pretty good, though. It's only going to get more believable as technology advances. And she looked really, it was pretty close. But we could still tell. What happens when we get to the point where we can't tell by looking at it unless we really, really enlarge it and educate? Educate ourselves, because we know, I think most of us know, that the left and the right are pitted against each other, so we can't compromise and come to good solutions that benefit both sides, and that essentially there really isn't two sides. There's only one side, and we're just told there's two sides. Um, and it's really, really confusing, and it's really annoying because you watch the talking heads and it's like, I mean, Fox won a thing that they didn't have to tell the truth. They don't have to tell the truth. I miss Walter Cronkite and David Brinkley and Chet Huntley, something like that. I mean, those were the days when there was some, it seemed that there was some, kind of standards in news. Yeah, they want to keep us divided because if the 98% ever get on the same page and decide that we're just fed up with the people manipulating us, things are going to happen and they're not going to like it. And so they're doing everything they can to divide us, to say, oh, this is true and this isn't true. And when the truth is probably somewhere in the middle somewhere, it's like climate change. That little girl that, I don't know, her parents are actors, her grandfather's an actor, she's a little actress, and she did this thing in front of the UN. How did she get the right to get in front of the UN and then blubber and whine in front of them? It's like, wow, really? I mean, it's obviously her parents have groomed her and, are using her for their agenda. Yeah, the CGI holograms, I mean, we have to be careful because this technology is getting better and they don't have a way to detect it automatically. And they sure don't want to hire real people and have to pay them to detect this technology in social media. So it's like, it's very difficult um, to know what's true and what isn't true. Especially if you're a Mandela affected shifter, it's even harder because each timeline you go into, the rules are slightly different. And the people are, we have more evil. It seems like there's a bigger battle between good and evil as each time we shift. And in that sense, there are sides. But like I said, I don't think if you're right or left that you're necessarily evil or not, that most of us are pretty good people, regardless of what our political views are, and that we can come to the table of compromise and sort of have an intelligent discussion about how to solve problems, and that we vote for people we hope can do that, but that's not what happens. I remember when I was a kid uh, that Republicans were very much more moderate, and we were Republicans. And then things just got weird, and um, I really would prefer being independent. I'm getting to get that way. I think most of my sons are independents because it's just like the two-party system is not cutting it. Hi, Scott. How are you? Talking about deep fakes and the problems with the media. And the thing is how do we as individuals figure a way to see through the deceptions? We just have to be skeptical. I think we just have to see when we see something, not to just automatically believe it. I'm good. I'm feeling more ambitious. I'm feeling better. My thyroid levels are normalizing. I probably have to go in and have a blood work done in a few weeks. So, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, I can start doing this again, that again. It's like I'm not going to over push myself because I've been inactive for so long. But yeah, um, circus using hologram animals now in Germany. I heard that they were doing that. I heard that, and then you don't have the problem with the animals being, abused or anything or things like that. And I mean, there are good applications for this. This isn't all bad stuff. But any technology, someone will find a way to use it against someone else for some selfish reason or political reason or who knows what. We know. Yeah, and the Democrats weren't so batshit left either. And it's like people could come to the table of compromise and actually work with the president of the opposite party. Um, Now we're just being ruled by corporations, and it's ever since corporations became people and had as many rights as we do, which was a big mistake. And I know there have been attempts to rescind that, but it's like it's too late unless something radical happens, and that's not likely to happen either. Hi, Maria. People don't like radical change. They prefer gradual change, and I understand that. And even if you voted for someone who's relatively liberal, they're not going to be able to do. I mean, that's the thing is that democracy is nobody gets their way. Basically, it has to be compromise. So that's what's wrong when you have someone where they get completely agreed with on everything, and it's not good. There should be debate and some wrangling over what should be done, rather than just, oh yeah, you're going to have the carte blanche to do whatever you want to the country, and that's not good either. Yeah, people and animals. I, on a lighter note, I saw a thing on Facebook which I thought was cute. Now I'm not sure, I haven't studied on this, but it was a cute picture. It showed an elephant basically had his trunk on this woman's, this cute little lady's nose, and it said something to the fact that elephants find us cute, humans cute, like we find puppies cute. Which I'm just like, because they just tested their brains, I guess, the brain waves, that when we see something cute, certain things light up in our heads. That they did that to elephants, and don't ask me where they got the money to do that one. We want to test to see if elephants think we're cute. Okay, if you want. But I thought that was interesting, and I think we're seeing, yeah, there's no middle ground. And that's like sad, because I think that we're just being manipulated. I think that if we get in a room and we just stop the knee-jerk reactions and we start discussing things and talking with each other and coming to some kind of, talk about things we agree on and talk about things we disagree on and try to explain why. If you have a why, that's good. If you don't have a why, then you're just being manipulated. You can just say, that's how I think. That's how I feel. That's not a why. That is a knee-jerk reaction, and that is what we're programmed to do. And, I think if you read 1984, the movie, I mean, not the movie, but the book, the movie's pretty good too, but the book, we had to read that in high school. I think everyone should have to read that book. That and Strange New World. I mean, these social science fiction are sometimes scarily predictive. My father used to say the only time politicians just lie is when their mouths are shut. You know who's great about comments about politicians was Will Rogers. Now he was like early part of the 20th century, and his attitude about politicians is right same as we have now. I mean, he's just as relevant now as he was then, and he had the most charming way to tell America, hey, come on. This is really what's going on. Incredibly perceptive, charming person. So if you ever want to see some clips of Will Rogers, which I'm sure that because of the Mandela effect, there are more clips of Will Rogers than there have ever been before, or just look up his quotes. I think you'll find that's wonderful, funny things to read when you get a little fed up with politics, because we've been dealing with this quite a long time. And unfortunately, we have a batch of young people going into politics, and they're idealistic and everything, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and that they're going to get beaten down, that their idealism's going to get smashed into little pieces unless they're very strong, because we've seen this happen. Because it's, they chew you up and spit you out in Washington, D.C. It's a difficult job, and I wouldn't want it. I would never want to go into politics. Oh, I also have something. I did do a video on women artists of the Renaissance that didn't exist in my timeline. Men were barely able to get training unless they were from a good family and had letters of recommendation to go see a master to be trained. Much less women, much less a nun getting to paint. And untrained, didn't go to any master to get trained. She's just completely self-taught, and her paintings are it's absolutely remarkable. And it's like you're just going, how did that happen? I mean, really? It's like, since when do nuns do anything but service? That's something I just could not believe. Anyway, I've been looking at, also I've done one on Van Gogh and his selfies that he painted, how many he did. Now I'm on a Facebook group about Van Gogh. And, in my timeline, he had a few paintings out, not a huge amount, and he burned a lot of his paintings, or they were destroyed. Now he's got paintings I've never seen, and styles are a little different. We remember how Van Gogh, usually the paintings that I've seen were all certain type of style. He has some now that are different style. They're still him, you can tell, but they're very different, and absolutely amazing. And it's like, I may have to do another video on that. Anyway, I don't know if you remember. Hi, John. That'd be cool to go, but I don't really go anywhere. I'm hoping to get to go visit my son in Irvine. They usually go in the summer, but they've had a lot to deal with. Went to a local gathering. Local politician showed up. My uncle would yell, "Hold on to your wallets, boys." Oh, what was it that would say that? Oh yeah, it was Bush. Was it Bush Senior or Junior said that? There's one of them, Bush Junior, I think. You take care, Raleigh. Take care of yourself, okay, dude? Be good to yourself. I know you're a rabble rouser. Oh, that's okay, though. We need a few of those. Yeah, women used to be good for the bedroom and the kitchen. They can't even cook now. I can cook. I can cook. Like I said, if I come over to the UK, I'm taking over the kitchen. You guys don't know how to cook. I'm sure there's exceptions, but yeah. Get out of the kitchen. Let a real woman get in here. But anyway, I have more. I wish I just had, never-ending energy. I'd make a lot of videos, but I'm thinking of doing another video, ME video, as well as some more children's stories. I have so many stories and stuff that I've written in the past that once I get through them all, I'll start writing new stuff. But I have a book here that Sunny 3 was talking about, and it's this one. It's called The Cosmic Dance by Julie Soskin, Soskin. Hard to find. I'm getting her other book that's the one right before this too. And there's a lot of Mandela effects in here, predictive Mandela effects. It's like kind of creepy. Yeah, if you know how to cook, you usually have a little extra weight on you, don't you, Ghosty? Oh, that's just it's frustrating, Well, you have to test it, make sure it tastes good. But this book here, I'd like to do a video on it, but I don't want to get a copyright problem because I want to, do it chapter by chapter. But a select few might be able to get a private link to it because I'm going to put it up as a private video so that you can hear some of the stuff in here. because it's just the first page talks about the white sun that will be coming. And this was written in the early 90s. She's still writing. She's written, most recent thing is 2012, I think. So, I don't think I'll get in trouble if I put it on private and share with certain people, as long as you don't like share it all over the country. But even then, I'm not sure that would be an issue. I don't think YouTube cares as much about the written word as they do about music videos and movies. Um, because those are, I might try to write her and ask her if I can do this, if I can get in touch with her, if I could put it on public, and then a link to her book, because I would do it in chapters. But I mean, it's like I don't like stepping on people's toes, but I know there's free use also that's available. But I might try to communicate with her. I'll do it on private right now, but I'll try to see if I can communicate with her and get some information on whether or not it's okay to put it as public, because it would certainly bring a surge of interest in her book. It's like free advertising, when you think about it. Uh, so I've just started reading this, and it's already just like, ooh, this is interesting. She's channeling it. Now, there's a lot of debate about channeling another spirit or whatever, and I have different ideas about what's going on there. I think there's some writing I've done that was so-called channeled because it just came out of me so easily and quickly, stories and whatnot, just out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. I think that we have a connection to the collective consciousness, but we also have a connection to our higher spirit, which has abilities and knowledge that we do not. And I think a lot of the channeled stuff is connecting to the higher spirit that has one foot in the spirit realm and one foot here, so to speak. We're connected, but they're also connected. So I think that's, I don't think it's as weird or strange as people think it is. And I don't think it's necessarily another personality, although, our higher self is different than our human experience personality to some extent, of course. So that's kind of my idea of what's going on with channeling. It's also kind of when you meditate, the sort of things you see there. I see stuff in visions when I meditate, and I think that's a connection to higher consciousness. So, I don't think it's as mystical as we think it is. I think we all have access to that if we can train ourselves sufficiently. I also got a book. You don't see that part of the world, which the part of my room here that has piles of books, because I haven't got the bookcases in here yet. And it's like, if I could have an entire room of just books, I would. I'd have a library with a reading chair and everything. I would be so British. I would be so British. I also got this book, which was, some sites had it for like $100. I'm just going, oh, hell no. So I looked around and got it for 20 or something, 21 or 19. And it's about giants, monsters, and dragons. And it's pretty thick. And I just said, oh, I have to have this book because in American history, we have pretty good evidence that they found giant skeletons. Europeans found giant skeletons. In every case, they've been hidden away, even in the European ones. All of a sudden, they just disappear. And I think this is part of the global elite efforts to hide our past. And I know that sounds really, paranoid or whatever, but I mean, I don't know what else to think. That this information is hidden away, and you'll see archaeological discoveries that have, they're called out of upas. Um, they don't fit the timeline. They're out of place artifacts where they can't explain them, so they just ignore them. And this is an issue that you'll see if you go to like Gaia TV, which I may pay for a short subscription to that. I'm adjusting what I'm subscribing to so I can get some different things. So you have hi Cupie. Um, so you have some different points of view. I think it's important that regardless of what your political or religious or spiritual beliefs are, that you learn about other people's points of view and why they believe what they do, and understand the influence of culture and being programmed from a young age by a particular belief system, which I think a lot of us are. That breaking out of that can be difficult. Of course, if you have the Mandela effect, you're kind of broken out of that like with a big hammer. Uh, like a big mallet hits your head when you realize nothing you thought is what it was at all, and so you have to rethink everything. Your paradigm is completely shattered, and you have to rethink who you are, why you're here. You have to come up with a new purpose. You have to figure out, well, am I going to be unhappy forever about this, or am I going to find the silver lining if I can and kind of run with it? So Cupie and Scott, we were talking about deep fakes and how they can, you know, almost realistically put someone else's face, or have it say things that they didn't really say. And so we're concerned about the next election coming up, that we're going to be, as the years go by, this is going to be a bigger problem if the social media doesn't find a way to determine which is a real video and which is not. And it may not be possible with live human beings that are trained to find this stuff, to look at it and to do the research to see where these videos are coming from. So, and you see people that just, especially people my age and older, that just believe anything they see because in their lifetime, this ability to do this didn't exist. And so, manipulation was really limited. So now they see stuff that looks real to them. They don't. They're not educated in discerning these things. Yes, yes, Raleigh. What else? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's too bad. Gidget's passed away. Well, that happens. My sister passed away in February. That was a debacle, to say the least. Okay. Well, and my one of her cats passed away a few months ago. And cats and family and pets, dogs, they're all family. And they said that a passing of a dog can be as bad and hard on you as I'm not pissed at you. um, so it can be as hard on you as a family member dying. So I mean, because they are family. So Raleigh, I'm not mad at you. I don't hold grudges. I don't have that much energy. I never was mad at you, actually. Um, you take care. Anyway. Hi, Voynich. Yeah. Um, anyway. So, any of you have any Mandela effects happen to you this week? Good. Oh, don't you coin that one. We don't need people to call themselves that. I have a picture of Mona Lisa, a big poster of her right there. And I looked at her this morning. I'm just going, I'm noticing there's something different. And I'm thinking, I'm running it by the core group that I talk to find out if I'm losing my mind or if it's actually changed. Because, sometimes, with a painting, it's hard. And so I'll put it up if my group says, yeah, that's different, because it's like, I look at that going, that's different. And I could be losing my mind. I don't know. My mind's a terrible thing to lose, but it happens. So anybody see anything in the Hi Lone Oak Lady? Anybody have any MEs for this week that you've noticed? Anything that you've noticed? Like I said, the Mona Lisa, I'm looking at that. I'm just like going, not sure. I don't have like those, like I said, my son Matthew and Emma have this memory where they just remember. They have this didactic memory thing where they remember exactly, and I don't. I mean, I try. Usually, it has to be a pretty big thing for me to notice it. History changes and stuff like that. And so I look at this thing like, once a week at least, or, at least that much, or if not more. And there's something there. It's like, it just. Yeah. You haven't gone to visit those towns that popped up. That's got to be freaking weird. I know Cupid's been finding all kinds of creatures that are like really different and we've never seen. And it's like the animals are the mandanimals are quite interesting. They are. And I know that Scott's got all kinds of Emmys, but he doesn't. He's just got tired of doing them. So, I can't. I don't know if I can convince him to share some with me, and I'll do videos on them. So, yeah. But in the UK, they're a small country. They're out and about more. They see the same places more often, so they really notice changes, like a building popping up. Where I live, I don't get out that much and I don't travel that much, and it's like it's a lot of high density living, so it's like it's hard to see some of the things that have changed. I see buildings painted overnight a different color, and it doesn't look like it's new. And my phone is doing, oh, for heaven's sakes. My phone seems to think that I'm talking to it. It's like, shut up. Yeah, and what really bothers me are the religious text changes that are just not right. It doesn't matter which religious text you're looking at, they all seem to be having some really dark changes. And I'm not religious, and I'm so glad I'm not now because I'd be totally freaked out if I was. And I can understand why people that are religious, that they're trying to find a reason for these changes that the new timeline has brought. And I totally understand that because I've read the Bible several times. I studied it, I took classes and everything, and seeing the changes is disturbing because you expect God to be consistent, and now I have to uh, evaluate what I think God is and what I think truth is. And and so, I understand, and people are desperate to find an answer. And so they may go places in their desperation to find an answer that comforts them. And I'm not sure that's going to work, because each time we shift, it could change. Now we have a Salt Lake in Minnesota, which I find difficult to understand. Is it like it's a lake with no outlet, I would imagine. The only way it gets salty is that it's a lake that has a river or stream going into it, but nothing coming out of it. Yeah, that'll be something to look into. But I mean, a lot of us that have experiencing this, we have a lot to try to deal with and to reconcile. Like I said, it took me a year of soul searching and depression and just feeling like I'd lost the battle completely. And I used to think who I was, why I was here, my purpose, and it all got thrown in the tube. Do they do fracking there, Ghosty? Do they do fracking in Minnesota? I mean, sometimes I know Oklahoma's having earthquakes because of that. Because I know they have oil in Oklahoma and they're doing fracking now. I wish we would get off oil because it's polluting for one thing and it's costly to the environment. And and it makes us beholden to certain other countries, which I think it would be nice if we weren't. There's a lot of politics involved in it, and a lot of the elites have control over that, I think. The strip mining. Okay. All right. Huh. Interesting. You have a lot of cryptids up in Minnesota, don't you? I know you have some of the creepier ones. Now, I'm really interested in cryptids and myths and legends because these things change when we have a shift, and some things are coming from legend into reality. Only mine from metals there. Okay. So I'm always listening and reading about cryptids and weird stuff and stuff like that, because you're starting things that used to be just legends are now being seen, and I don't know exactly if we're creating this reality, if it's interdimensional, if it's somehow the shifting is making what we believe in legends real. I have no idea, but it's weird. It's weird because people are seeing and interacting with Bigfoot now on a regular basis. I mean, this is no longer an isolated hunter or anything like this. This is they have areas where people know them. Then there's the dogmen. There's swamp ape. There's so many, so many. So I joined a cryptid page as well as art pages and archaeology pages on Facebook. Facebook isn't just cat memes, although I do that all day if I could. There are groups of people there that are well educated and post stuff that's very thought provoking and interesting. And the art pages um, are giving me some ideas too. You saw a Thunderbird. Now that's another thing people see. They in the old West they were killing them, and there's supposedly a picture of one with a bunch of ranchers, and they thought, oh, that's got to be fake. I said, well, maybe. What if it isn't? What if it isn't? And maybe it was fake, you know, in another time, but now it's real. So, I mean, you know, I try not to have my mind so open my brains fall out, but I still can't be totally skeptical about everything. I'm just like, I'm skeptical, but I'm curious, I guess is the right word, because it just fascinates me. Um, I also believe a lot of myths are based in real interactions of the ancient peoples with something that they tried to understand. So, and I remember seeing a video of it looked like a small raptor running across a little road into a field. And I tell you, that didn't look like CGI to me. And I was looking at it really careful. And I'm just like going, well, you know, not many people have access to that good of a CGI. And it's like it didn't look like CGI. Because, you know, if you do a distance shot, you can tell usually if the CGI, if because the blurriness of the distance won't match the blurriness of the thing you're seeing. It looked totally the same. So I'm wondering, you know, somebody doing Jurassic Park on us? Let's hope not. Anyway, watch out for deep fake videos in this next coming election. Try to be discerning. If you're on your computer, enlarge the picture and look at it carefully. Look for a line or halo around the body. Look for the eyes. With that one Trump video that I know was CGI, his eyes were sharp, but his face was all blurry. It was very odd looking, and he was reading from a script, and he didn't have hardly any expression in his face. And we know he has a very expressive face. Whatever your opinion of him, he's a very animated speaker. And he was just not like himself. And like I said, the energy coming off him, I didn't feel anything. Normally, I have certain sensitivities that come off of him that I feel. They're not very pleasant, but I am aware of it. This one, I felt absolutely nothing. It was very odd, and I have to trust my instincts if this was a manufactured video. It was still sending the message from the White House that was intended. I'm not saying they were trying to deceive us that way, but I think they didn't trust the actual Trump to deliver it without messing up. So they did it this way. And I can't blame them because he doesn't follow script very well. For good or for ill, that's something we know about him. Uh, well, he's a lot of fodder for comedians anyway. So I mean, if nothing else, he's that. So I unless you have any questions for me, I will conclude for the day. Any questions? Fairies and brownies? Okay, let me tell you a story before I go. I put my purse, which is black, on a black chair, and I have this little wallet about like this. It has my credit cards and my ID and on it. And it was in it. I tossed it into the purse, okay? And I grabbed my purse a little while after that to go to the pharmacy to get my meds, and I found my wallet wasn't in my purse. So I head home, and I go over the chair. First I have my kids look for it while I'm there, and they don't find it. I told them where my purse was. They look under it, they look around it, they look on it. It's not there, the little wallet. So I come home, and I look again. I look under that chair, I look on it and everything. Matthew says he's looked and everything. And my daughter and my son Matthew were all there, kind of standing like, can't figure out where it is. I mean, we looked under the chair, rolled the chair, looked on the chair, look, and then Matthew and I were talking, and there's a little brief moment where there's no sound. We hear this thunk. I said, no way. And I go over there, Well, before that happened, I said it must be the fairies because I didn't put a fairy up. I have a sort of a little I don't know what you call them, our altar kind of thing. I have my angels, my candles, my Buddha, my Kuan Yin, you know, up there with my other things, incense burner. And I said, I bet it's the fairies because I didn't put a fairy up there yet. And then that thing fell, made that thunk sound. I go over there and there's my wallet under the chair. So, and I put a fairy, I have a little fairy figurine I put up there. I said, I'm so sorry that I forgot you. So, I mean, I don't know if that's proof or not, but I happen to think that there are some kind of beings that we call fairies. When I had my past life regression, the gal that did that, who's quite psychic, she says, right before she says, where are all these fairies coming from? I said, oh, they're mine. So you take that where you want to. Like I said, things that may have been just folklore are now real. Why? I have no idea. It's like weird. So there you go. Well, anyway, thank you for all coming. It's been delightful to see you. I'm not mad at Raleigh. Never have been. Poor guy. Tell him to take the kick me sign off his back because nobody wants to kick him, really. At least not me. You all have a wonderful day, and thank you for coming. And I'll have to think about what to talk about next week. Good night, and you all take care. Be well, and all that jazz. I can't type. It's up so high. You take care. Bye bye.